Oh, what's happening, people? Good morning and hello to everybody that's going to be listening to this podcast format. I'm Jon Gruden. This is the Breakaway podcast. I'm sitting next to this guy right here, Brian Farnsworth. How you doing?
Oh, doing great, dude. It's Monday morning. We just had a full slate of NFL games. I'm feeling fantastic.
Yeah, I'll feel better. So this is not officially sponsored by Celsius, but this is the only thing that really gets me going. There we go. I got to get a little Celsius in there, and it's going to be a full slate of recaps of NFL games. We're going to talk about Jon Gruden, little NBA, a lot we're going over here on the Breakaway podcast, and we're so glad that you're here. But before we dive in, America Fest. You got to get tickets. Go to tpusa.com/AmericaFest. We got Dustin Lynch. Are you a big country music guy?
Oh, yeah, no, clearly, as if you were looking at my Instagram story last night, you'd know that I listen to Mason Ramsey almost exclusively.
This guy. Also, where can people follow you on Instagram? What's the at?
It's Brian Wayne F. I know that confuses people, but yeah, no, at Brian Wayne F.
This guy does not know enough about country music, but even if you don't, we got some amazing country music artists that are going to be performing basically every single night. It's December 18th through 21st. You can use promo code JON, Jon. Don't use an H.
Spells his name like a psycho.
The best Johns. Come on, Jon Gruden.
It makes more sense, doesn't it? Like, no H. Like, I don't know why H has found its way into, like, that's the way you spell John. It's silent. It doesn't make any sense.
Well, I mean, Jonathan. I was named after David's best friend in the Bible, so you take it up with Mama Ruth, all right?
Take it up.
She won't be happy if you're clowning on the name, no H in there. But let's get into some of these games here. Once again, too, promo code JON, JON, 25% off America Fest tickets. Sunday Night Football. It was Raiders-Chiefs. Chiefs have been non-existent.
Mm-hmm.
They have not been near the tippy top like we're used to them. And then their offense has just been staggering. Like, Mahomes is not what he used to be. Travis Kelce seemed to be non-existent in the last game. And then Tyreek Hill, him, Kelce, Mahomes, the whole team came out guns blazing yesterday.
Yeah, well, so for me, and then, you know, the announcers during the game were kind of talking about this last night. It seemed like the big difference between this week and the whole season was patience. This is year 4 of the Patrick Mahomes, Chiefs experiment. I think they kind of started to believe the hype. They had 3 straight years of being incredible, back-to-back years of going to the Super Bowl. One year they won, obviously, and it kind of felt like they were just like out there playing backyard football because they felt like they could do whatever they wanted. Last night they slowed things down. They had long drives. They were averaging 7.6 plays per drive, which goes, okay, they were finally getting to a point where it's like, hey, let's slow it down. He started taking checkdowns to Darrell Williams, running the ball more, and you can kind of see that offense come back to life because they were just – Patrick Mahomes was just throwing it up there, throwing prayers and trying to do too much, and that's what led to so many problems.
Well, I think he was trying to be flashy for so much this season. You know, he's so used to doing those no-look sidearm passes and just making those big plays, those Sports Center top 10 stuff, like almost every single week. But now it's like, all right, Andy Reid, Chiefs, slow it down, just like you said. Let's figure it out. You're playing against your rival, the Raiders. That seems to always be a good game. And that's why I was surprised that it turned into such a blowout. Because they've had some legendary matchups, especially over the last decade.
Oh, yeah. And even last year, I mean, the Raiders dropped 40-plus points one game last year against the Chiefs and 30-plus the other game, to where, like, these have been teams that, like, really go at it. The Raiders want to beat the Chiefs, so last night's game, that's going to shake things even up more for this Raiders team that, I mean, they're just having such a rough year. I mean, obviously, Gruden, Ruggs, Arnett, I mean, it's such a mess that it kind of looked like, oh, maybe they're going to be fine without. No, the Raiders, between you and me, I don't think they're going to make the playoffs.
No, I don't think they'll make the playoffs either. But it is actually interesting to see what the standings look like right now. So you have Chiefs that are now at the top of the division, 6-4. You got the Chargers that are 5-4. Chargers seem to be floundering too. You never know what you're going to get out of that team.
100%.
And then you got the Raiders at 5-4, and then Broncos 5-5.
Yeah.
I mean, if the Chiefs are starting to pick it up, bye-bye. Like, they're going to run away.
We all knew it was a matter of time. Like, I mean, the decline of the Kansas City Chiefs was much exaggerated, as we can clearly see.
Well, I mean, it was exaggerated, but I think it was also on point. I mean, they weren't scoring points at all.
None.
Like, they scored more points last night than their last 3 games combined.
That's insane. That's actually really
That's why
insane.
I took the under, and it didn't work out. And I know it didn't work out for Dominic. We got producer Dominic back there too. I was so surprised because you got a Raiders team, a Chiefs team. Like, I did not think that they were going to be over 54.5.
I think that's on you. Like I said, looking at
It ended up
the
being
games,
55.
The games they had last season, they were absolute barn burners. They were,
But that
track
was
races.
that was last year. That was last year. And then two, it would have been the under if the Raiders knew how to pick off a pass. There was 2 passes that should have been picked off at the end of that game, and also DeSean Jackson. DeSean Jackson decides to join the the Vegas Raiders, gets his first catch, absolute bomb, and I think that's what changed the game.
Mm-hmm.
He gets a bomb, and then it was weird. It was just he caught the ball, he was looking behind him. I mean, catch the ball, go to the end zone. What are you looking back for?
Classic DeSean Jackson, where he was trying to do too much. He starts dancing around, and in the NFL now, I really feel like it started, granted, maybe I'm wrong on this, but I really feel like it started back with that 2015-2016 Carolina Panthers team. They were taught on defense. All their players on defense, they were always trying to punch out the ball. And we've seen in my opinion, we saw from that season forward, these defensive players, when they go to tackle you, the first thing they do is swipe and try and punch the ball out of your hands. And that happened to DeSean Jackson. Why? Because he's dancing around rather than just going to the ground and taking the massive. It was like a 35-yard bomb. That was the momentum swing that completely changed the game.
And then also, too, the Chiefs found a way to pressure the quarterback. Mm-hmm. And I know we're going to talk about a little bit later about sacks compared to pressure, and then what Bill Belichick had to say. That's going to be an interesting conversation. But as we wrap that up, that Sunday night recap, it was weird to see a nationally televised game, a primetime game, not be a very good game, or at least close.
Yeah.
Because I feel like we've actually been pretty spoiled this year with some close games in primetime. And that was an absolute blowout. Mahomes with 5 TDs, Tyreek with 2 TDs. But Thursday night football, I don't know if you caught that. I know you caught it.
Oh, I got it.
You talk about trash football. That was garbage. That was excruciating to watch until the O-lineman, that was Robert Hunt for the Dolphins.
The greatest big man touchdown in NFL history. That was never a touchdown.
That was never a touchdown. I think we might have a video of that too that we're going to show you. So that was the Dolphins beat the Ravens 22-10. But I think we're going to show that video if we have that. But leading up to that fourth quarter, that was an absolute snooze fest.
Oh, it's so boring. Although I said this to you the other night. After a while, I just started appreciating the game for what it was, though. Because, the first half, it was so boring. But as we got into the second half, specifically into the fourth quarter, I just started to appreciate, okay, everyone's been all the media has been putting Brian Flores, head coach of the Miami Dolphins, on the hot seat, saying, oh, maybe he needs to get fired. This was a masterclass in coaching. And remember, Brian Flores comes from the Bill Belichick, coaching tree. And Belichick famously, he devises a new game plan for every team that he plays. And so this was a tailor-made defensive plan for Lamar Jackson, and it stopped him. He had no idea what to do whatsoever. So to me, masterclass in coaching.
Well, their first drive was impressive too.
Oh yeah,
the first drive. I mean, the Ravens weren't able to score, and then always Justin Tucker. He's always going to hit a field goal, and then he missed one.
Missed one. It was on I believe the second drive.
Oh man! So basically, a breakdown of that game. Just in case you missed that, it was 3-0 at the end of the first quarter, 6-3 at halftime, and then nobody scored in the third quarter. So you have a 6-3 game. Lamar Jackson can't do anything. The Dolphins look like they have no idea what planet they're on.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Dolphins score 16 points in the fourth, and the Ravens get a tutty. And then actually we got that video of Robert Hunt, the O-lineman. Look at this guy, rumbling, bumbling, stumbling.
Boom.
Look at that ball stretch there, too. That's impressive.
That man played running back at some point, maybe in high school, but he was a running back at some point in his career. I guarantee. Look at that. You don't just do that, dude. That man knew what he was doing.
Because too, I was in Old Town Scottsdale. I was watching it. One of my favorite places, Boondocks. I think that's one of the best places to watch the game out here in Scottsdale, and everybody was going nuts. And I was excited too, but I knew right off the bat that he was ineligible.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But you got everybody there. It's like, oh, I can't believe he scored, and I was like, man, it's gonna be a rude awakening for a lot of people. That's not gonna count.
I love that he caught the screen like it was meant to come to him. He caught it and just immediately took off with purpose, heading for the end zone. It's like everyone on the field knew like that's not what was supposed to happen, but everyone went along with it too. Like nobody was gonna just give up on the play. But in my opinion, throw out the rule book. That was a touchdown.
Dude, I think there's a lot of rules that need to be changed. We're going to talk about that later, but something like that, it's just thank you for providing us something to get excited about with that Thursday night football game, because it sucked. That game was so garbage. But you know who's back? Cam Newton's back. I'm back. That was, I know it was tough to see as an Arizona Cardinals fan, but dude came out right away. And there was a turnover, right? An interception?
No, Colt McCoy fumbled.
That's what it was. And then Panthers get the ball, and then PJ Walker. It's fun to see him too. Before we get into a little Cam Newton, the XFL provided a lot of great talent. And I felt like it was a lot of fun to watch. You had some great players. I love how they had the spread and the over/under in every single game. It changed. They had that in the lower ticker, and then PJ Walker gets his first start. Exciting for him. And then, was that his first start?
Yeah, I think so.
I think it was his first.
Maybe second.
Might be second. And then Cam Newton comes in, first play, rushing touchdown. And then he actually had a nice little stiff arm.
He did. Well, and a couple of the Cardinals defenders ran into each other, and then Isaiah Simmons, who actually he's been having a really, really good season for the Cardinals. Our middle linebacker is in his second year out of Clemson. He took a terrible angle on trying to bring down Cam Newton. He had a really bad game. And
people forget how freaking big Cam Newton is. That guy is a beast.
Pounds.
He might dress like somebody that was going to the Met Gala,
like Mrs. Doubtfire. I don't know.
But he's a big dude. He's hard to take down.
Yeah, no, and so he runs it in, immediately puts the Panthers up 7-0 on the Cardinals, and then the Cardinals, who have been looking like the best team in football, this game was the proof that they need Kyler Murray back, they need DeAndre Hopkins back. Probably not going to get J.J. Watt back, but the injuries are taking a toll on what looked to be the best roster in football. Because then, the next drive for the Carolina Panthers. Once again, P.J. Walker gets them, and Christian McCaffrey. Let's not discount Christian McCaffrey. And on Cam Newton's second play into the game, he throws a touchdown.
2 plays, 2 touchdowns, rushing, passing. It was impressive. And I know it's tough. It was tough for you to see. But Colt McCoy went down, too. Yeah. It was like everything that could go wrong for the Arizona Cardinals went wrong.
Yeah.
It was really, really tough to watch. I know we got a few people we're working with here at Turning Point USA that went to the game. I was like, yikes.
Yeah. It was a coaching problem. Frankly, obviously Kyler Murray not being there is problem number one, but the team didn't look like they were ready for that game, prepared for that game. And when a team isn't prepared for the game, that's on the head coach. I like Cliff Kingsbury. I do. I like Vance Joseph, our defensive coordinator. But these guys came into it. It honestly felt like a game that they were riding high off of just clobbering the 49ers last week when nobody expected them to. And then they come
Colt
home.
McCoy looked like an MVP during that game.
Oh, yeah. James Conner looked like the best running back in football.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't think they were coached up properly for this game, and it showed heavy.
Well, I think, too, you have Colt McCoy out there, and I think he got figured out really fast.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when you don't know how to scout a guy and you come out and do what you did to the 49ers, I think they didn't know what to prepare for. Like, what kind of film are you going to look at for Colt McCoy?
And the Carolina Panthers defense is significantly underrated this year. I mean, they made the move. They went and got Stephon Gilmore from the Patriots earlier in the season. He's a very good cover corner. Jeremy Chin, their second-year safety, back there in the backfield, very, very good. Like, I mean, this is a defense that has playmakers, and they are going to make you pay if you aren't ready for them. And so the Cardinals got tuned up. All it goes to show is if the Cardinals are going to stay atop of the NFC, they're, coming into the week, they were number 1 team in the NFC. Now they're probably like number 3 or something. You need Kyler Murray back, and you need to get back to what you're doing at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, because right now you got Packers at 8-2. They got to win over the Seahawks. We'll cover that in a second. Cardinals are 8-2. Cowboys are 7-2. Boys are looking nice. Yikes! Also for the team that they played against.
And you got the Rams at 7-2, who obviously we'll talk about later. But if they win tonight, they will leapfrog the Cardinals.
Yeah. And then let's talk about Lions Steelers. We had a tie, baby. We got a tie in the NFL. There's ties in the NFL. Najee Harris had no idea you could tie in the NFL.
Which is the best part is like it always makes me laugh of like, hey, a lot of times the people who actually are really good at this game, they're not watching it like how we are. So Najee Harris, I mean, obviously the man's incredible at football. He probably, like I'm a fan who sit there. I can't do anything that Najee Harris can. He could eat me. Like the guy is massive. But was the best part is he didn't even know you could tie in the NFL, which goes, he hasn't been watching football. Like he plays football. He doesn't watch football.
It's funny too because this is what he was quoted saying. I didn't even know you could tie in the NFL. In my mind, I was sitting on the bench saying, I've got another quarter to go. But someone came up to me and said, that's it. And I've never had a tie in my life before.
I still think it's the dumbest thing. And okay, it's not the worst rule in the NFL, but I think it's one of the worst rules. They need to change it to where ties shouldn't be able to be a thing. If you make it through that first overtime, they should probably just do some sort of college football style overtime.
Yeah, 25-yard in. Let's go.
And just keep rotating it.
Also, I hate the overtime rules where if there's no skill involved winning a coin toss whatsoever. Yeah. Like you randomly lose a coin toss and then you give it up to a team that goes right in and scores a touchdown, then it's over.
Yeah, it gives you no shot.
You work all that time to get to overtime, and then I hate the argument of people saying, well, defenses just got to get a stop. It's different. It's basically like you're starting a brand new quarter, and you got all this time left, and then why is it sudden death? Like play throughout, especially in the playoffs. Like maybe in the regular season.
Yeah.
Because that's similar to hockey. Like hockey, you're going to have some of those overtime wins or losses.
Yeah.
Losses, you'll still get a point. I think in the NFL, at the playoffs at least, it cannot be sudden death. You randomly lose a coin toss. Because a lot of these games aren't going to be like the Lions-Steelers where it's 16-16.
No.
Where both teams, you have Mason Rudolph starting. I think it was basically like the 2-year anniversary of him and the Myles Garrett situation.
Yeah, we'll leave it at that.
Yeah, but it's got to change.
No, I can get behind you on that. Of regular season, you could probably leave it sudden death. Obviously, like I said, I would like to see it get to more college style, but at the very least in the playoffs, you've got to change it to give the other team a shot. Because otherwise, it's just stupid. Your entire season to lose on a sudden death, it's dumb.
Yeah, because I'll always go back to for people that don't know, I'm an Atlanta Falcons fan. Sometimes you make horrible decisions in your life, and that is the worst decision I think I've ever made. And the Falcons got absolutely smoked yesterday, 43-3. We don't need to talk about that anymore. They did have a pretty good tweet when they were down 28-3, and the social team was saying, we know, but that Super Bowl against the Patriots. Obviously, you're giving up a massive lead, 28-3, and then it goes to overtime in the Super Bowl. Falcons lose a coin toss. Patriots go right down. And, yeah, there's that tweet from the Falcons. It's 28-3.
That's great.
We know.
I love that.
We know. Also, anybody that's talking to me in person or online, 28-3, it's not a good joke anymore. Like, I laugh about this stuff, and I send it to my friends that are Falcons fans, too. But in that Super Bowl, that's it.
Yeah.
Patriots score a touchdown, and that's it. Falcons don't even get a chance.
When they weren't built by their defense that year, anyways. Like their offense was their team,
literally.
So I'm with you. I'm with you 100%. Which I mean, speaking of low scoring games, Seahawks versus Packers. That was not what I expected it to be.
Because you knew there was a little snowfall in Green Bay.
Yeah. But it had stopped snowing by that time.
But it had stopped snowing, so it's still chilly. And anytime there's a cold weather game, take the under. Do it. Every time. I don't care if you got Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers coming back. You got to take the under in those games. But the Seahawks got shut out for the first time in, what that was.
I think they said it's first time in Russell Wilson's career.
First time?
Yeah. Which he was drafted in 2013. So we're talking at least 8 years. That first time they've been shut out.
Especially with all the weapons they constantly have, too, in the way that Russell Wilson can sling the ball. I don't care if he's coming off an injury or not. The fact that you can't even score.
Wasn't it a finger injury?
Yeah.
I love how they talked about, Russell Wilson was rehabbing 19 hours a day, and it's like...
What is he?
Yeah,
I got to come back. I got to come back. I'm coming back.
And it's like, no disrespect, Russell. But...
Oh, he's going to come after you. Yeah. After he listens to the Breakaway podcast, you're done.
Yeah. No, Russell Wilson will never come on the show. No, but it's 19 hours a day for, it's not like he, bruised his MCL. But I mean, there were a couple passes where you could tell, because he's an accurate passer. He's got a tight spiral. He airmailed a couple of them, and it's okay, whatever's wrong with that finger, he's back. But I think it's going to take a couple games for him.
I will give him this. You play a cold weather game, it's hard to grip a football anyway. And then if you're rehabbing and trying to come back as quick as he has, I'm sure there's got to be. He won't admit it. That's what I also love about Russell Wilson. He's one of those gamers that I guarantee you he could say it was just tough to grip the football, but he won't bring it up.
Oh, no, because he will never make an excuse. He's a humble guy, competitive to where he's not going to make any excuses. He's going to say, it's on me. I need to work harder. I need to be better. And honestly, maybe take the over in next week's game for whatever the Seahawks do, because he's going to come out firing.
But the player of the game in that game was Packers defense. Also, let's talk about the LA Rams wide receiver roller coaster ride that we're on. Robert Woods goes down with an injury. But also, shout out to my boy J.J. Koski. Played at Cal Poly SLO. He made his first appearance in an NFL game. I went to SoFi Stadium. I went there for Sunday Night Football. It was a tough game for the Rams, but SoFi Stadium's it's pretty impressive. That was an amazing place to watch a ball game.
I bet. I mean, it just looks like cream of the crop, luxury. That's where the Super Bowl is going to be this year, and which is really cool that the Rams are built to have a chance to be in the Super Bowl in their home stadium, very similar to what Tampa Bay Buccaneers did last year. And that's awesome. That gives you something to really play for, something to go out there and be like, yeah, we're gonna play in front of our fans.
But also to Cooper Kupp. Do you think the Cooper Kupp season is over?
So I had tweeted that. We talked about. I thought that originally because I was like, okay, it's now going to be a three-headed monster. Between Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, OBJ. They still got Tyler Higbee, Darrell Henderson. They got weapons. And while obviously, I say that a little tongue-in-cheek, a little facetiously, Cooper Kupp leads the NFL in receptions, leads the NFL in reception yards, in touchdowns, in red zone targets. That wasn't going to change enough for it to really end, but alter a little bit. Maybe his fantasy football numbers would slip a little bit. But now that Robert Woods goes down, a lot of people understand this, but a lot don't. Robert Woods is so instrumental to what that team does. He, according to Pro Football Focus, he was the number one wide receiver for pass and run blocking in the league, which means he's getting out there and he's putting blocks on defenders to be able to get Darrell Henderson when he breaks it out to the edge, or when Cooper Kupp catches a screen pass or something across the middle. He's going out there and getting those blocks to be able to keep the play going. Losing that is huge because OBJ doesn't bring that to your offense. He's not a blocker.
No, he's a diva, and then he's going to LA. If you thought he was a diva before, oh boy, he's got the bright lights of LA. He's gonna become even more of a diva. You can tell he was meant for Los Angeles.
Yeah, well, like, I mean, like a Los Angeles 5 is like a Cleveland 10. So you can only think about if you're a diva in Cleveland, what you're going to be like in LA.
Oh man! And then let's get into the MVP race. We do need to talk about what Bill Belichick had to say about sacks versus pressuring, and then we got a few things we need to go off of before we start moving into college football. MVP race. Tom Brady. I brought it up. I posted it on my Instagram at JohnnyRoot_, no H in that one. And how I don't think Tom Brady was going to be an MVP frontrunner. I just don't think he had enough flashiness in his game. It seemed like he was maybe one of those guys that's similar to a Mike Trout, LeBron James, that you just kind of expect greatness out of them on the field or on the court. And then now he is crap the bed.
Oh, yeah, that
he
was
did
bad.
not do well. And also, Taylor Heineke, I love that guy. Ever since he came into the league, he got his shot. Alex Smith went down and took over for him. He is really fun to watch, but he's also an absolute parlay killer.
Yeah. No, I mean, Heineke, absolute blue-collar guy. I mean, just man of the quarterback of the people, kind of like Gardner Minshew was last year. But yeah, no.
But actually winning games.
Yeah, Tom Brady, it was not good. He, obviously, that first interception really wasn't his fault. It just kind of came flying out of Carter Johnson, I can't remember, somebody's hands. But then he had another turnover, and he just did not look like his regular self. But so that's going to affect his, if he keeps trending this direction, that's going to absolutely affect his odds in the MVP race. Kyler Murray's missed 2 games in a row now, and we're seeing his odds shoot up. I mean, really shoot down, but he's not looking like a front runner anymore. I think that's only because he's, NFL's a what have you done for me lately league. Yeah. Once he gets back and starts putting up those numbers again, I think he'll jump back to the front. So now's actually, hammered down. If you think Kyler Murray's going to be the MVP, right now is the time to go and place that bet, because he's down to like plus 800. Just like 2 weeks ago, he was at like plus 350. So I would go, me being a Cardinals fan, I would go put money on Kyler Murray.
No bias in this
No
at all.
bias whatsoever. Because I think it's a smart play.
Because right now it looks like, according to FanDuel, so Josh Allen is the front runner for MVP, and it makes sense.
Oh yeah, 100%.
The Bills look great.
Oh yeah,
the Bills look really good. I think that is almost a good bet to come out of the AFC. That's going to be tough when you got the Titans, but when we're talking about individuals, Josh Allen, not a bad bet. Him and Diggs right now, that is a dynamic connection. You got Josh Allen at plus 200, Tom Brady at plus 300. Tom Brady is trending down. I just don't know what he's going to do. He's going to find ways to win games, but like MVP, he's not helping his case.
Maybe once Antonio Brown gets out of that walking boot and comes back, maybe the offense will come alive again. Who knows?
Yeah, as long as he stays out of trouble, too. That's Matt Stafford, plus 600. Dak Prescott looking real nice.
Oh, yeah.
Looking real nice there. So also the Cowboys, I feel like, might be back.
Yeah, well, so they got Michael Gallup back this week, which the NFL is a league right now where you need 3 people who can catch the ball. You need 3 wide receivers, and I'm not saying you have to have 3 stars. Like you don't have to be what the Los Angeles Rams were trying to do. But they had Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, and Michael Gallup to start the year. They lost Michael Gallup in week 1, and he was out for a while with a hamstring. Now that he's back, it opens up the offense so much more, and that's going to. Just quote me on this. Dak Prescott is going to have an absurd run over the next stretch of the season because their schedule isn't that tough. He has as healthy of a team as he's had in his career right now, and he's going to put up numbers.
Zeke is actually looking good again.
Yeah,
that's the thing. He's finally running with some sort of passion. It looked like he was just so passive. Also, too, you always got to know, like, we're armchair quarterbacks here. So, like, when I'm saying, like, I'm not every person's like, oh, I'd love to see you go out there and run. I was like, well, there's a reason I'm not in the NFL, but there's a reason we've seen someone like Ezekiel Elliott just run with some passion, be tough, and then jump into a Salvation Army bucket. He had a swagger to him, and I think he's starting to find that again.
Yeah, it probably helps that they're spelling him a lot more Tony Pollard. I think it lights a fire under him of like, no, I want to be out there all 3 downs. But then at the same time, it keeps his legs a little fresher. I mean, he's not a rookie. He's not a second-year running back anymore. To where it helps him a lot. Get him in those goal line situations. He'll score the touchdown.
All right, and then next up to Ben Roethlisberger. He missed the game because of COVID. Ben Roethlisberger is vaccinated. You didn't hear anything from the media about this.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing at all. Ben Roethlisberger missing that game. You had to throw in Mason Rudolph and then have a game end in a tie. That whole, once again, that situation was weird. But the media hates Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, hates him.
They absolutely despise the guy. And to have Aaron Rodgers miss a game because he contracted COVID, compared to Ben Roethlisberger, who is vaccinated, that contracted COVID, and then Ben Roethlisberger, it's fine. Like, whatever. Like, you're going to hear nothing from the media. And then also, it's interesting with the NFL protocol, if you test positive, you don't have to test for another 90 days, I think.
Oh, really?
So I think basically if you're a fan of whatever team that's in contention right now, you probably want your stars, if they are going to contract COVID, probably want them to get it right now. Because if you get it now, you're going to miss about 10 days if they're unvaccinated. And then that 90 days, that'll take you through the Super Bowl.
That's actually a really funny take. Go infect your quarterback right now. So, yeah, no, but like we were just talking about MVP race. If anybody were to put money on Aaron Rodgers right now to be the MVP, you're throwing money in the fire. Because remember, it's the media who votes on MVP. It's these sports writers.
Wouldn't that be incredible? Like, we go from Major League Baseball that takes the All-Star game away from the Braves, and then they go and win the World Series. The media hates Aaron Rodgers, and they try to play him out to be just the devil himself. And then if he wins the MVP, that would be insane.
No, see, and that's exactly what I'm saying. He could go on an absolute burner for the rest of the season, and I still don't think they would vote him the MVP because they hate him right now. Hate him so much. To where I would not put money on him.
But there has to be a sense of professionalism where it's just like, you got to put your politics aside. If he ends up just balling out, Josh Allen decides to, just have a so-so rest of the season, I don't know, they finish 500 the rest of the way or something like that. I don't see that happening. But if he starts to run away with it, and then Dak Prescott, he just looks okay, and then you have the Packers that end up winning the division. They're one of the top two teams in the NFC. You'd have to just put your politics aside and vote for the guy.
True. Although it's just right now, they are the number one team in the NFL. They lead the standings, and Rodgers is like plus 1,000 behind a bunch of guys. So it's like Vegas is already kind of predicting like, hey, it's not Rodgers. Yeah. Like, it's not him.
All right, let's talk about this. Bill Belichick. He says that he doesn't care that much about sacks. He cares a little bit more about pressuring the quarterback.
Yeah, I found this video to be really, really interesting. It was something he said last week on Media Day leading up to this week's slate of games. And basically he's going, sacks really I don't find to be that important. What I would rather do is put pressure on the quarterback, because when you put pressure on the quarterback, it leads into them making stupid plays and potentially doing turnovers. And I'd rather have a turnover, obviously if it's a strip sack, whatever. But I'd rather have the turnover type plays rather than a sack. I think that changes the game more. And the
possession.
Oh, and the possession. Well, and so it's not something that like this is just something he said. Like, it's like, oh, I'm saying it right now because we don't have a ton of sacks or whatever. And put it in perspective, Matt Judon is like fourth in the NFL in sacks. Mm-hmm. He's got like 9 or something right now. But so this is something that Bill Belichick really does stand by and believe. If you look at their last 3 Super Bowl rings, where they ranked in sacks that year, in 2018 they were 15th in sacks, 2016 they were 16th in sacks, and 2014 they were 14th in sacks. To where this is something they believe. Now, however, and what they pulled up right here, this was an article done back in 2020 from 538.
Yep.
538 completely disagrees with Bill Belichick on this, where they're saying, look, sacks impact the game a lot more. And these numbers, just looking at it might be a little complex to understand.
Yeah, there's viewers watching. What in the world is on there?
Long story short, to explain it, pretty much 538 was saying, hey, out of every 9 plays, pressure is put on the quarterback. And that's on average. They did a 3-year study, 2017 to 2019. Out of every 9 plays, pressure is put on the quarterback once. Out of every 34 plays, a quarterback is sacked once. So, and they were then saying that the margin of how much it impacts a drive and then impacting the game is incredibly higher on sacks rather than pressures. And this is why I love it, because it goes to show who Bill Belichick is. Bill Belichick, because he also controls the roster in New England. Pressures are cheaper than sacks. You have to pay a ton. Sacks are
I
a premium.
like that you bring that up, because there's so many incentives in the NFL, and that will blow your mind too. If you want to do a little research yourself about how athletes make money and how these NFL players make money, incentives are in their contracts. So they want to get sacks. So literally, if you get a full sack compared to half a sack, you could lose $1 million or so.
Oh, yeah,
so guys are trying to get
that
sacks.
Threshold. Yeah, so guys are trying to get sacks. But Bill Belichick, I mean, he traded Chandler Jones to the Arizona Cardinals, a few years back. He let Trey Flowers, who was their best edge rusher a couple years back, walk to the Detroit Lions. He will not pay dudes to get sacks. Like, he just doesn't do it. What he wants is he wants to build a roster in a cheap manner where it's like, hey, so exactly back to the 538 thing. You put pressure on a quarterback 1 out of every 9 defensive plays. That's happening a lot more than 1 out of every 34 plays for a sack. So he goes, what I'm going to do is I'm going to spend less money, get more pressure, maybe not as many sacks, and that's how I'm going to kind of moneyball my defense. If I'm going to put pressure, maybe not get the sacks, but I'm going to do something that's cheaper to where I can go spend money in. Because Bill Belichick spends money in weird places compared to other teams. He pays corners, he pays tight ends, he pays guards, he doesn't pay defensive linemen. And he pays middle linebackers too.
And then he picks up lacrosse players and then just being great wide receivers.
No, it's so true. But so Bill Belichick, I'm obviously probably the greatest NFL coach of all time. He's the GOAT kind of when it comes to coaching, maybe. So I always find it interesting when he kind of opens his brain to the world of says like, hey, this is how I coach. Not to say it's gospel. Like I said, 538, who's an analytics website, they completely disagree with him on that. But I found it to be truly fascinating.
I think we need to talk about roughing the passer. There's so many things that are just ruining the NFL. We've talked so much about go woke, go broke. We're not going to get into like the political conversation with the NFL. Obviously, that's hurting it. But I think taunting is ruining the NFL. Like, there's no emotion in the game anymore. Like, you go and absolutely just pancake somebody. You got a big hit. I think defenders, too, literally, the game moves so fast. So you're watching so much in slow motion where someone outstretched makes a catch and then they're just trying to curl up and take a hit, and they're lowering their helmet themselves. Defenders have about this window to hit somebody. And then also with a quarterback, they got that window. You can hit them right there. That's ruining the game. Obviously, they're trying to protect players. I totally understand that. That's why they've changed the kickoff rule. That's why you see everybody lined up and there's no running start anymore. But roughing the passer is a joke.
It's terrible, and we're seeing it affect games. Like, I know you're, and I disagree with you on this. You're calling the Titans the best team in football. I disagree.
I think they're the hottest and best team in the NFL.
Well, they shouldn't be the hottest. I think they would have lost yesterday. And this is what, because I sent you this message yesterday while watching the game. I was like, this is insane. The roughing the passer call when Ryan Tannehill in the red zone, he throws a ball into the end zone and gets picked off by Marcus Williams of the Saints. The roughing the passer call. Oh, we're going to play this video. Watch this video of this is the roughing the passer call that called back an interception that would have completely changed it, because they ended up scoring a touchdown on this drive. And this was a game that came down to a 2-point conversion. So
and then people that aren't watching this live and then you're listening to the podcast, so it's 6-6 here, right at the end of the second quarter, and
that's roughing the passer in 2021. That
look at this right here. So basically comes in like a 55 there, and literally just gives them a nice little subtle tap on the nameplate and in the back of the helmet, and where. Probably the part of the helmet where Drew Brees put Jacob Blake, right? That's where he hit him.
Oh my gosh!
I'm sorry, I'm on a roll this morning.
Playing with fire, huh? Okay, yeah, we can take that down. But no, and so this is a game that ended up coming down to a 2-point conversion to try and tie it at the very end of the game. That was a potentially 14-point swing because the Titans scored a touchdown there when Marcus Williams caught the interception. That shouldn't have been called. That was not roughing the passer. It's ruining the game. I feel like no team has more complaints against the refs than the New Orleans Saints.
Oh man, yeah, that game against the Vikings in the playoffs. That was tough. Obviously, the Saints or the Falcons' rival. They're not really much of a rival anymore. But, I love seeing the Saints lose, but no team should ever lose that way. I mean, the integrity of the game, I think, has just been so lost with taunting, reffing the passer. And another thing, too, the NFL, they started an investigation into the Washington football team because of a toxic workplace environment. And they started that investigation looking into President Dan Snyder and the rest of leadership for the Washington football team. You have some ex-employees that are saying, hey, so there was misconduct running rampant across this place. So NFL does an investigation. Over 650,000 emails. The only thing we've seen come out of those emails, Jon Gruden. That's it. We also haven't seen those emails. We've heard about the contents of those emails, which were leaked to the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times. But now Jon Gruden, who was forced to resign from the Las Vegas Raiders, it was such a weird scenario, too, because you had that initial email come out and calling someone an executive in the NFL saying he had lips the size of Michelin tires.
Yeah.
And then Jon Gruden comes out, something that we wouldn't say, but very, very locker room talk. He says, I call everybody rubber lips. When that initially came out, I think they expected, which is like, I don't know, John. You do your thing there. But I think they expected Mark Davis to make a decision there and get rid of him. And then you saw more emails come out, and then he was forced to resign, and it seemed like he was a total scapegoat. This is what it comes down to, is ex-employees from the Washington football team are still looking for answers.
Yeah.
They're looking for answers, and then now Jon Gruden is saying, hey, I was a scapegoat. It seems like they just put me out to dry, tried to make me out to be the biggest racist that's ever been in the NFL or something, which I don't think Derek Carr or even a lot of his old players would agree with. Sure, you're going to have some talking heads on ESPN, Randy Moss crying his eyes out about it. I think that, I mean...
Well, and like the people who worked with him at ESPN, they came out and said like, hey, that's not the Jon Gruden I know.
Yeah.
Like he's always like, we have never felt, in any interaction with him that he is a racist person. Well, and so I remember right after it all happened, I remember having a conversation with you, and this is exactly what we said of like, this feels weird. It feels like they wanted to just get rid of Jon Gruden because immediately after the Jon Gruden situation, the NFL sealed that investigation. They said, okay, out of 650,000 emails, the only problems were the Jon Gruden ones. And we know that's BS. You have 650,000 emails. There's going to be something in there.
Commissioner Goodell just got butthurt. That's all it is.
Yeah.
He just called him an anti-football word I won't say.
Well, and I think even more than that of like, we use the word scapegoat. I think, yeah. I do think, because we know Roger Goodell's a very petty person. We know that from all the Dave Portnoy beefs and everything like that.
Talk about a good rivalry.
Yeah,
that one right there.
But it really, to me, I think Roger Goodell's job is to protect the league and make the league make as much money as possible. That's his job as commissioner. So, and he's done that very well over his tenure, which is why dude gets paid like $44 million a year. Like he's insanely overpaid because he makes them a lot of money. So I will bet there's something in those emails that would damage the league. And so he took the chance
100%
to go after one person to sacrifice that person, and I'm going to seal the rest of this stuff to where we don't hurt the league.
Yeah, and I don't think that's a conspiracy theory at all. I think there is some damning stuff in those emails, 100%. And they're just like, well what are we going to do? How are we going to pivot? Jon Gruden always said somebody had lips the size of Michelin tires, or he made fun of the commissioner of the NFL.
Used a homophobic slur.
Yeah, I mean, stuff that we wouldn't say, but no. I think that's what, Derek Carr came out and said, hey, why don't we just open up everybody's emails? Everybody would be squirming. I know when we had Matt DiBenedetto on, he's like, there's a lot of us that might have just sent some emails that were unsavory, and they're just like back and forth to buddies, things that we normally wouldn't say.
Yeah.
And, it's still,
and of course, for anybody under the age of 40, when we say emails, we're talking about text messages.
But finally, too, I do want to let you know, this is what they were saying. The attorney, Adam Hosmer-Henner, he's of McDonald Carano, the attorney representing Jon Gruden. He said in this lawsuit, the complaint alleges that defendants selectively leaked Jon Gruden's private correspondence to the Wall Street Journal and New York Times in order to harm Gruden's reputation and force him out of his job. I agree. I mean, I think there's a lot of people, if you're just going to look at this objectively, I know the NFL is really trying to like end racism and trying to look like they are social justice warriors, and obviously nobody wants racism anywhere. In the NFL, around America, no. But to pretend like America is just some like systemically and systematically racist, I think that's something they're pushing, and then they use someone like Jon Gruden. See? We're getting rid of it.
Yeah.
I think that's what they tried to say. And this went on to say, there's no explanation or justification of why Jon Gruden's emails were the only ones made public of the 650,000 emails collected in the NFL's investigation on the Washington football team. That's important to note. This was an investigation not into Jon Gruden, into the Washington football team, or for why emails were held for months before being released in the middle of the Raiders season. I think it was calculated. I think there was something that they saw in those emails that was very damning to the NFL, and then they waited for the right time, and then they released a little bit, and then it's like, Mark Davis, what are you going to do? Mm-hmm. And then we're going to release a little bit more.
Do you think? I think this settlement. I think the lawsuit's just going to end in a settlement. Do you think it is actually going to, become anything? I think they're just going to settle out of court.
I hope that Jon Gruden realizes that he is in such a great position right now that I don't think it's not about money. I think there's a little bit about money. All right, I will agree. There's a little bit about money, because he even went on to say like he lost a sponsorship deal with Skechers. You also know you're old when you got a sponsorship deal with Skechers. But there's money there, and then also he was pulled from appearing in the Madden NFL 2022 video game, but you're still going to have Colin Kaepernick that's going to be available in that game. So there is a little money involved, but I think this is a great chance to hold the NFL accountable. And also, to get some answers for these ex-employees from the Washington football team. Can we remember that there's people that really feel wronged? And this isn't just a couple. And then this is just this could be a real indictment of the NFL. Because it's like, hey, we're going to hold you accountable here. Hopefully Jon Gruden's like, I don't really care that much about the money. I care about you actually giving answers to the people. And you know what the NFL should care a lot more about than Jon Gruden or Aaron Rodgers being unvaccinated? Why don't we start holding the media and the NFL accountable for domestic disturbance, domestic violence, crimes? You got Deshaun Watson that still has over 20 sexual assault allegations, and then they're sitting on their hands with that. They're not doing anything. They're acting like, oh, look at us, like we're ending racism because we outed Jon Gruden. It's like, no, you have old employees for the Washington football team that want answers. You have Deshaun Watson that's still just being protected for some reason. You got guys that are actual criminals that get jobs right away, right after they post bail. Their priorities need to change, and hopefully this is a great chance to hold the NFL accountable.
Hopefully. I'm a little more pessimistic than you are. I think it's going to, exactly because of the fact that it could open the NFL up to problems, I think they're going to find some way to settle out of court. And
they're just,
Gruden's going to get a big payday.
Out of any league in America, this is the most prominent.
Oh, yeah, it's powerful.
So I think they're very, very powerful. So I think they'll find a way they could find a way to settle, but who knows? Jon Gruden could just go like absolute kamikaze here, where it's like, I've already lost my job. I'm not going to get another broadcasting job. Go for it, Chucky. Do your thing. So before we move to college football, a few quick hitters. I still do believe the Titans are the hottest and best team in the NFL. Actually, at me. I was going to say don't at me. At me. At me right now. And DK Metcalf tried checking into a game after he got ejected.
That was classic.
Chase Young could be done for the season.
Brutal.
I think we'll probably find out some more information later today. It looked like an MCL injury, so it's such a bummer because he's so fun to watch.
But at the same time, their season's not going anywhere. So like maybe it's tank, get a high pick. You probably need to draft a quarterback.
And then Aaron Rodgers, a little bit more information about him. He does not want to wear a mask in post-game pressers, so he's opted in for Zoom pressers after every game.
I love that this happens all the time. Is these people get red pilled? They get pushed to the right, not because they're even like a conservative. Like I do not think Aaron Rodgers is a conservative by any means. But it's the same thing with like Joe Rogan, J.K. Rowling. These people who are like just like middle of the road liberals or like moderates. They get pushed to the right because they do one thing that is like loosely attributed to like the political right or to conservatism or anything like that, and then the media goes after them so hard that they just fully embrace it, and it's like you're creating your own like worst enemies, and it's hilarious to me.
But I just love it. Aaron Rodgers, he's just doubling down, tripling down. He's like,
Oh yeah.
if you want to wear, I don't want to wear a mask. I'm not wearing a mask on the sideline right now. I'm not going to do it in a presser just so I can just have some like virtue signaling that for this whole COVID BS. I love to see it, and then fine.
This is a dude who stopped talking to his family because of disagreements. Do you think he's gonna all of a sudden like change what he thinks because of the NFL and what the media is saying? No,
Of course not. And then if the NFL season ended today, the Eagles would have 3 of the top 15 picks.
Yeah, it's crazy. Because of the deals that they did with the Miami Dolphins and San Francisco 49ers for last year's draft, and then not playing very well themselves. And this is what's most interesting about it, is because there's not a Joe Burrow, there's not a Kyler Murray coming out of this year's college football class. So there's no quarterback to take with any of those. I don't believe who will be better than Jalen Hurts. Well, I don't think Jalen Hurts is the long-term answer. I like him. He's been developing nicely. So you're going to have 3 top 15 picks that I believe that they should take. Granted, okay, that's if the season ended today. A lot could change. Got half the season left. But basically what's going to happen is they can take 3 premium positions, offensive line, corner, pass rush, wide receiver, whatever. And I think they could really stack their team with some top-tier talent. I just think it's really interesting.
Well, I think they could add another nice little wide receiver because I think Jalen Hurts, I think he could be the long-term answer. I'm gonna disagree there because I think he's one of those guys. He's been put in these positions to fail. There's too many quarterbacks that need to go right in, and they're told you got to be successful. Mm-hmm. Right? Look at Trevor Lawrence. I mean, they put this unbelievable pressure on a guy that's not used to losing games, and I think he's getting better and better. But Jalen Hurts, it was a little bit just like slowly but surely, we'll throw you in there, and these guys need to fail. And then finally, too, Mac Jones. Niners, you should have picked him. I was saying that during that draft too. Like
Jets, you probably should have picked him.
Yeah, Jets probably should have picked him. But with Mac Jones, he is just perfect for the Patriots system.
Oh yeah,
like the Patriots system is back. I'm not gonna say there's too many people out there. It's like the next Tom Brady. No, it's like obviously they got similar body styles when they came out of the NFL draft. But I think basically Mac Jones, his physique did not help him out at all. I think you look at someone, you put pictures side by side, a Trey Lance and a Mac Jones, and you're going to be like, Trey Lance? Like, I can run around a little bit. He's fit. And then Mac and Cheese Jones over here. I mean, I think that hurt him. But when he started falling farther down the draft, he had a great game against Tom Brady. He had a big win this last weekend yesterday against the Cleveland Browns. He looks nice. He looks comfortable. And I think the Patriots, they're back, baby. But speaking of quarterbacks, Oklahoma, the Sooners, they took their first loss, and they've had an absolute carousel of quarterbacks. Spencer Rattler makes about $25 trillion in NIL deals, and then he gets booted from his starting job, and then they just took their first loss this last weekend.
Yeah. Do you think they're going to be out of the college football playoff race?
So as of right now, I know the committee hasn't come out.
No. AP's dropped their rankings, but
also the AP, I mean, this season is just another example of no one cares about the Associated Press poll anymore. It seems wrong. It's just, as of right now, especially the way they had Cincinnati and Oregon and everything, like there was a debacle last week about like the AP poll was almost drastically different from the committee. Right now, Associated Press has Georgia at number 1, Bama at number 2, Cincinnati at number 3, Oregon number 4, Ohio State number 5, and then Oklahoma dropped to 12. Yeah. And Baylor's actually at 11 now, according to them.
Well, because what Oklahoma had keeping them afloat was the fact that they were undefeated. Their wins have not been like all that impressive this year. Obviously, a couple of them have. They've like gone and beat up on smaller teams. But against a few opponents, they really haven't had a super impressive season to where exactly just like the Cincinnati Bearcats, if the Bearcats lose, they're going to drop down out of the top 10. And
they're gone.
Oh, done.
Especially with their strength of schedule. Cincinnati loses, goodbye.
Boom. And so it's a similar thing. Even though Oklahoma has a better strength of schedule, it's the same thing with them. If all you have really going for you is the fact that you're undefeated, you got to stay undefeated. You have no chance against some of these other better 1-loss, 2-loss teams.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because they played Baylor earlier in the season. That was about 3 games ago, and they won 34-31. That's when Baylor was 13, Oklahoma was 7. That was November 16th. And then you had this game here where they lost in overtime, 30-23, and they had a close game against Oklahoma did against TCU.
Yeah.
The Horned Frogs, like they barely escaped there, and their hopes are long gone.
Yeah.
And then there were some exciting finishes in college football as well. So Kansas, they were a 30-point underdog. 30 points.
Yeah.
Like if you look at the spread of a game and someone is a 30-point underdog, you might as well like not even play the game, it seems like at times.
And it was the first time in Jayhawk history that they have won in Texas, in Austin.
Mm-hmm.
They've never won there before because, I mean, let's be honest, Kansas isn't a football program, it's a basketball program. And so it just goes to show like how big of a mess the Texas, football program is right now, and those boosters hate losing. They hate losing. And so I think, head coach, he's fine for right now because he inherited a mess. Some people on Twitter will be calling for him to get fired after that game, which is stupid. Like, these guys, they need time to build a program.
And then Sarkisian's there. He's their offensive coordinator right now?
No, I thought he was head coach.
Or he's head coach.
Yeah.
I think, he's running the offense. But I think Sarkisian, he was garbage with the Falcons, and I think he's dropped off. I think ever since USC, I'd get rid of the guy. I'm on board with that. I know that might
give him time. That's all I'm saying is give him a few years before you just boot him. But yeah, let's watch this finish. It's fantastic.
Yeah, for everybody not watching and you're just listening to the podcast here. So this was 56-55 in overtime. Kansas decides to go for 2, and this guy right here, walk-on tight end.
No way.
He was a walk-on tight end, and I know there's a great video on Twitter as well. His parents were just going absolutely bonkers. And look at this guy. He just fixed it up. Just I love the celebrations. His teammate just takes him out. The head coach of Kansas, he's like, act like we've done it before. Get your booties back here. Get back.
We're an old school guy.
I love that, but Texas is struggling, man. They have the longest losing streak since 1956. Yeah, 1956. So you talk about boosters being pissed off, and I love that out of a team like Kansas. College football, you haven't beat Texas at their place.
No, never.
So go for 2. Just go for the win.
Not?
There's no point just like trying to kick a field goal. Hopefully we'll just go back and forth. Just go for the win. And I love that. And another crazy finish, South Dakota versus South Dakota State. Hail Mary at the end of that game. We're going to show you that video as well. And there's another funny little celebration at the end of this that I love. So South Dakota, they are South Dakota State's up 20-17 here. And this is 1 second left. South Dakota State just is on defense. South Dakota just throws up this absolute prayer. Look at it. Tip, touchdown.
Jeez.
Look at they get the win here. But South Dakota State had the ball before this, and they threw up a prayer, and there was 1 second left. This is on South Dakota State here. The clock management was terrible, and they gave South Dakota a chance to throw a little prayer. But I don't know.
If a head coach isn't calling plays, your only job is clock management. Like what? Like if you mess up clock management.
And I don't know. We're gonna see here at the end of this video. Hopefully we can see it in this. But there's someone that's injured, that's on crutches. I think that ends up going and celebrating in the end zone, right here. I hope that we can see this coming at the end of this touchdown. So we're not going to see that one, but I know there's a video out there. There's someone in crutches just like sprinting, celebrating. It's like, what are we doing? What are we doing here?
What we're doing is you're in South Dakota.
Yeah, literally, that's the only thing to get excited about in South Dakota. Sorry for anybody from South Dakota, but Lamar Jackson had a retirement ceremony too. Louisville cool guy. I know we had David Akers on the show. I know that was a great episode. You definitely got to check that out on YouTube. We've had some amazing interviews with people like Steve Weatherford. We're going to have Tito Ortiz coming up.
Ooh,
little teaser
Tito
for that one. That was fantastic. We had Kenny Dobbs on, and then you had David Akers, Louisville guy. So he loves Lamar Jackson, and so does the entire state. And he got the retirement that he deserved.
And that was the first quarterback to have their jersey retired in Louisville since the great Johnny Unitas, to where like that. I mean, that has to be just such like a big moment for Lamar, who's still a young guy, and I mean that obviously means a ton to him.
Look at Gucci Gang too.
I mean, yeah, they just absolutely swagged out to the max.
Just drip. Look at that. That's way too much money he's wearing right there.
100%. But yeah, like for like now, his name forever will be associated in Louisville with Johnny Unitas, and that is just such an honor, like to be like in that realm, and I know that means a lot to him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can clearly see too if you're watching here, and then anybody at home, like or just listening to the podcast, he's tearing up a little bit. You can see how much that means, and he's done a great job in his career as well. I mean, he was well liked at Louisville. And also, too, Mike Vick had an interesting thing to say about Lamar Jackson. I'm going to pull this up right here. He said that, let's see, what he... Here we go. Michael Vick hopes that Lamar Jackson will overtake him as the all-time best running quarterback.
I think he will. I mean, because Michael Vick was a pioneer. He was breaking ground for something that we'd really never truly seen done that way. And honestly, until Lamar, we hadn't seen it done again. But I think the world was ready for Lamar Jackson to be Lamar Jackson. Obviously, not everybody. He went 32nd in the draft. But now that he's kind of like proven it and shown it, he's going to be... I think there's a really good chance he's not there yet. Don't get me wrong. He needs to win some Super Bowls. He needs to win more playoff games. But there's a chance that Lamar Jackson is a Hall of Fame caliber player, and so I think he'll get that gold jacket one day.
It's really hard to believe too, because I think there's a part of me that has this just part of my heart that loves Michael Vick and didn't think anything could get replicated like that. Because watching Mike Vick as a kid, and then being a Falcons fan myself, and then even playing just Madden. Mike Vick was unfair on the field, and then in that video game,
it was Madden 2005, 2K6.
I think it was 6.
I think it was 6.
I think it might be 6, but he was totally unfair there. Last thing we'll cover here in college football was Texas Tech had a walk-off as well. There were some amazing finishes, and this was another one of them. Texas Tech had a walk-off 62-yard field goal to win the game. Like, if you have a field goal,
naturally, you can tell you're special teamer from your college days. Man, you're going off about a 62-yard field goal.
Man,
finish.
I love a good punt. I love a good punt, and I love a good field goal. So this year, and then even Patrick Mahomes, obviously Texas Tech alumni, 62 yards for the win. Check this out. Oh man, this gets me going. I love a nice little boot after the end of the game. There's 3 seconds left on the clock. 62 yards. Boom, baby. Like, that is impressive. Like, college football, anything more than 50 yards from your kicker is extremely impressive. 62
these are young guys. Like, I mean, you're between the ages of 18 and 22. Like, like that's a young guy who's booting at 62 yards. That's hard to do.
Dude, I love college football too. Like, just college football, people rushing the field.
At Packers. We all know Mason. Yeah, it was that Gabe DZN. He tagged the Packers in that video because we all know the struggles Mason Crosby's been having. That's hilarious. That's funny.
That is so good.
That is a truly hurt fan.
Let's transition to the NBA. I'm hurting a little bit. My Warriors, their 7-game win streak is done, and also you're going to get used to the show. We got some producers back there. We got Anthony, Dominic, and we also got Angelo that will bring up a lot of New York Knicks talk, because anytime I bring up the Warriors, he's got to bring up the Knicks. But the Warriors win streak is over. They lost 106-102 to the Hornets. And also, too, I will say that Jersey matchup was pretty fresh. I liked that a lot last night.
Nah, it was good. But no, like, what my favorite part of yesterday was going into the day, you had 3 teams who were on 7-game win streaks: the Golden State Warriors, the Los Angeles Clippers, and the Phoenix Suns. And when all was said and done, the only team to emerge out of that, the Phoenix Suns, are now on an 8-game win streak. and the Clippers and Golden State Warriors both lost. So I think we know who the hottest team in basketball is right now, and it's right here in Phoenix, sunny Phoenix, Arizona.
Well, you know who's got the best odds to win the NBA championship? Golden State Warriors. Golden State Warriors. Say what? Say what?
November 30th is Golden State Warriors versus Phoenix Suns, and I'm really pumped for that matchup.
We got to go to that game.
We absolutely have to.
We're gonna after we get off this little live stream here, and then we appreciate everybody tuning in too. This is going to be great. We're going to give you sports content every single week. We'll recap games. We'll give you our take about what's going on in the world of sports, the wide world of sports. That's not woke and that's not just stuff you're getting from ESPN. You're going to hear the different side of arguments, but we got to go November 30th. After this live stream, we got to get some tickets. And also, we won't get tickets for the Christmas Day game. No way. I got to spend some time with the Root fam, but that is Suns, Warriors, and that's going to be a fun slate of games, too. I think I got that.
Yeah, we were talking about that right for the show.
Yeah, that's going to be a very, very fun day. You got Celtics, Bucks earlier in the day. Then you got Warriors, Suns. And then it's going to be Nets, Lakers, and then the nightcap you're going to have Mavs, Jazz.
Yeah, it's going to be a way fun game.
It's going to be a good day. But at the end of that Warriors game, Kevon Looney missed 2 free throws to tie it up. That was tough. Also, Kelly Oubre, he basically gave the Warriors a point or two when he got kicked out of that game. I love seeing someone like Kelly Oubre that desperately wanted to have an unreal game against the Warriors. I know
he had a big three.
He did. And I think he has some big threes. He has it in him, but he is one of the streakiest players in the entire league. Yeah. But he can, when he provides a spark, he can really get the team going.
Well, I'll touch this really quickly because I know it's not the point we're trying to make, but go back to when the Phoenix Suns were still very, very terrible. We made a trade and brought in Kelly Oubre almost by accident, something I could go into later. But I truly believe he is a big reason of the culture change for the Phoenix Suns because he showed up and he had been completely underappreciated with the Wizards. John Wall hated him, and that's a known fact. And so he never got an opportunity with the Wizards. Comes over to the Suns. We gave him an opportunity, and he did change the culture there that I think created what we're now seeing. And helped create. I don't want to give him all the credit. But so I like Kelly Oubre a lot, but he, like I said, he's a passionate guy. He plays with emotion. He's streaky, and it almost hurt his team.
And you know who I love on that Hornets team? The Ball Bro.
Oh.
Gosh, LaMelo is so fun to watch.
Oh, yeah.
And it's, once again, too, we could harp on this so much about how there's so many different options for young players now.
Oh, yeah.
You don't just go to college. Like, G League. They got the G League Ignite. Jalen Green came out of the G League Ignite. Jonathan Kuminga. Two of some of the best young guys there, and you get to play against NBA talent right away. College basketball is fantastic. It is so, so fun to watch. There's nothing like March Madness, in my opinion. But you got someone like LaMelo that played overseas, and he's able to play against some men, some real men. And then Luka Doncic. Yeah. He came from overseas. You got these guys that are prepared for the NBA more than a lot of college players, and it's changing the game. And then also you have a chance to make money. You got the NIL laws. I think that's another reason the NCAA changed that. It's like, all right, well, some of this talent, they're deciding to go into the G League. They're deciding to go play overseas.
Yeah.
The NCAA had to make a change, but these guys are prepared. And LaMelo Ball, his confidence was already way up here when he first started, and he was able to get that Rookie of the Year.
Yeah.
Too. I know Anthony Edwards came out and said, I don't care if I get Rookie of the Year.
He wants MVP.
He wants the MVP. But a lot of these guys, they're prepared, and LaMelo is so fun to watch. And then sometimes there's some players that need a change of scenery, like Kyle Kuzma.
Oh, yeah.
Are you kidding me? He looked like hot garbage when he was with the Lakers.
Terrible.
And he was really, really bad. And he was someone that was just the butt of so many jokes.
Well, and he's still getting the butt of those jokes. Like we saw last week when Cleveland news went after him, in the Chiron down below in a local Cleveland news station. They're like, Kyle Kuzma, who won a ring thanks to LeBron. It's funny, but Kuzma gets shipped over in that Russell Westbrook trade, and this season he's averaging 15 points per game, 9 rebounds, and the Wizards are leading the East. He is having a really, really good season, and I just want to give him credit where credit's due because he's been a butt of so many jokes that I go, wow, no, this is a guy who really can play, And the LeBron James factor is a very real thing. He can elevate some people. Like, I think he elevated Kyrie Irving from a young player who kind of didn't really know what he was doing in the league to a champion. But then to guys like Kyle Kuzma, who are really still developing, completely, I think he hinders young players. I really, really do. For the majority of the time, like I said, sometimes it's a boon. But yeah, a couple other, speaking of Cleveland, Evan Mobley, who was a rookie, who drafted by Cleveland Cavaliers, I did not expect him to be this polished. He came out of USC. He had a really, really good March Madness. But
because also too, it's like sometimes these Pac-12 kids, you don't know what you're going to get from them.
No.
Especially USC.
Yeah.
I feel like you had the OJ Mayos that came out of USC, and it's like, how prepared are they compared to a lot of players that come out of the ACC? They seem a heck of a lot more prepared than the Pac-12 with college basketball.
No, totally. And so Mobley's having a really good rookie year. I think he's actually early leader for rookie of the year. But so just a couple days ago, he led late in the third quarter. It was Celtics versus Cavs, and the Cavs were down by 19 points late in the third. He goes in, scores 12 points in the fourth quarter, leading this comeback. And then also he got a chase down block on Jason Tatum, and then with about a minute left to kind of ice the game, he was the one out on the perimeter. I mean, he's a big dude. He's kind of wiry, but really, really big guy. He forces a contested three on Jason Tatum where Tatum airballs it. This dude is making plays on offense and defense, and what's just so surprising is the Cavs are like fourth in the East right now, being led by a really young team. They're fun. I'm enjoying it a lot. I'm all for the young Cavs this year.
And they still got Sexton running point, right?
Kind of. They do this combo guard thing where it's Colin Sexton. Really, the better guard right now is Darius Garland. Colin Sexton probably needs to get shipped out of town, in my opinion. But just because I don't like doing the combo guard thing, I've seen it not really work with too many teams that just commit to one guy. It's like playing two quarterbacks, honestly. Yep. Stupid.
And then we'll wrap up with this. So, politics and sports, they go hand in hand at times.
Unfortunately.
Unfortunately, that is the world that we live in right now. And then you got someone like LeBron James. We got to cover it on this show.
Yeah.
He tried mocking Kyle Rittenhouse and saying that basically he was fake crying. So the Kyle Rittenhouse trial, you're going to see the closing arguments today. Probably not going to see a verdict today. We don't really want to get into the political side of that. But this is what LeBron James had to say. He says, "What tears? I didn't see one. Man, knock it off. That boy ate some lemon heads before walking into court," and all these crying emojis. Like, if you're going to speak on politics, don't mock some kid that at 17 had to relive some just oh my gosh, some traumatic experience. And no matter how you feel about this case, maybe give a legitimate take here, LeBron.
Yeah.
Don't just try to mock this kid who is actually, we heard from Jack Posobiec, who we're actually going to have on TPUSA Live a little bit later today, saying that he's going through therapy for PTSD. And LeBron is just a talking head for the left. He sounds he's the Joy Reid of the NBA.
Oh, 100%.
And it's such a bummer, too, because LeBron has done so many great things for the kids of Akron.
Yeah.
He's done some amazing charity work. And then he goes and throws this stuff out here. But he, rightfully so, got dunked on online. Because if anybody knows about fake crying and flopping and faking injuries, no one knows it better than the king.
Yeah, I mean, LeBron, tweet it with a little credibility at least. Say, hey, as a expert in faking, I can tell you this is faking. Maybe give us a reason to believe you. No, but LeBron James is an uneducated jerk who quite literally never knows what he's talking about. It knows exactly what he's doing on the court. He's a very good basketball player, but as soon as you get him outside of the world of basketball, the man knows nothing. And we don't have time for it. We will go a full breakdown of LeBron James at some point, but quite literally, I'll get into that at another time. LeBron James, because I'm telling you, I can prove it. I have plenty of examples.
Yep.
LeBron James does not know what he's talking about if it gets out of basketball.
Remember when they were asking about that Malcolm X book?
Oh yeah,
he just looked like he was trying to So tell us what you read in that book, LeBron. Let me look at the back cover. Yeah. The guy literally has no idea what he's talking about politically, and then even tried calling out Daryl Morey. a few seasons ago now, just saying, oh, he's misinformed and uninformed about what's going on in China. But no one's asking him to explain himself.
No, because they're all terrified too.
Of course.
Because it's LeBron in the media, so they're all in bed with him, so they cover for him anyways.
But luckily we got someone like Enes Kanter. He's been going off on Twitter. He's been calling out China. He's been saying that they need to be held accountable for what's going on over there.
Nike.
Yeah, he's calling out Nike, and then he actually had a tweet yesterday that said President Joe Biden and dictator Xi Jinping are scheduled to speak. President of the United States, stop playing games with bullies. Do what you promised to the world. Prioritize human rights. Will President Joe Biden ask about the Uyghur genocide or assault on Tibetans in Hong Kong? Or will they pat each other on the back? Enes Kanter, this is something here that this is actually a legit political take. Politics are in sports. We don't enjoy it, but if you're going to speak on politics, do something like Enes Kanter, like actually explain himself. He has these lengthy videos, and this is what's going on. And instead of someone like LeBron James that is just out here to go along with this just divisive, weak, disgusting leftist narrative, Enes Kanter saying, hey, these people need to be held accountable, and this is why. You don't have to agree with me, but here's my legitimate take on what's going on here. And I think he's trying to make a great change, and it should be terrifying what's going on between China and the United States.
Yeah.
Talk about not keeping somebody accountable. That's what Enes Kanter is trying to do. He's at least trying to get a conversation going. And I can at least appreciate that. No matter what side of the aisle you're on, if you're going to have an athlete speak on politics, I think that is just the blueprint of how to do it.
And I actually have a lot of respect for Adam Silver. While obviously I'm not going to agree with Adam Silver on everything, he's fully fine with Kanter expressing, using his First Amendment right to speak out on things. I really do believe if this were the NFL, Roger Goodell would not let somebody do this. They would crack down on them a lot harder. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's where I go. At least Adam Silver, because I know he had a sit-down meeting with Adam Silver, and Silver said, "Hey, if this is something you want to talk about, we're not going to stifle you. We're not gonna ask you to stop or any of this." I know Kanter wants Adam Silver to do more about it, but it's you can't expect that. What do you think's going to happen, Kanter? But by any means, I just go, you know what? At the very least, this is a man who is being told, no, we're not going to censor you, and I like that.
And it's actually great, too, because Enes Kanter, you got to check him out on Twitter, too. His bio right now, he says, freedom isn't free, and it's at Enes Kanter. He actually had the president of Taiwan give him a little shout-out. Gave some kind words. So, I mean,
if anybody is going to be yes, listen to Enes Kanter more, it's going to be Taiwan.
Exactly. All right. So before we let you go, once again, thanks so much for tuning into this. We can't wait to give you some more great sports talk every single week, recapping games, talking about the side of conversations that you're really not hearing around mainstream sports media. Even this side of the Enes Kanter talk, what LeBron James is doing, Jon Gruden. We need to have open dialogue about what's going on here, because a lot of it's just, you have these mainstream sports media platforms that are just at the mercy of their sponsors. They're at the mercy of all their advertisers. But here, we want to speak the truth. And we're also going to be opinionated. There's nothing wrong with just having a little discussion about what's going on in the world, how that relates to sports, who's the MVP, who's going to be the Rookie of the Year, all that kind of stuff you can really enjoy. But later today, Monday Night Football. Let's give people a preview. Rams, 49ers. The spread right now is Rams -3.5. Is that a safe bet? And what's the final score prediction?
Yeah, I think that's a pretty safe bet. I would take the Rams. Even like I said earlier, losing Robert Woods is huge. However, you got to remember, they didn't just gain OBJ. They also brought in Von Miller. I know a lot of you probably haven't seen any Denver Broncos games because they're not exactly that fun to watch right now. Sorry, I know we got some Denver people who work for.
Sorry, Isabel Brown.
Yeah, right. But Von Miller still has some left in the tank. So you got Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey, Von Miller on that defense. My final score prediction, I'm going to say 31-21, Rams by 10.
Ooh. Because I'm actually going to go 31-17.
Ooh.
I think the Rams, especially after getting that little beat down from the Tennessee Titans that I got to see in person, was Stafford's going to hold on to the ball better. I love that you bring up Von Miller too. Like it's all of a sudden like he's not in the conversation. It makes sense when you have someone like OBJ come into the fold here, and then especially Von Miller didn't play in that last game.
Yeah.
So it just kind of seemed like, all right, well, that happened a little bit more than a couple weeks ago. So whatever. So I'm going 31-17 Rams. I say you take the spread. I think that's a safe bet. The Niners, you just never know what you're going to get out of the Niners. They're trying to do this dual quarterback situation. Mm-hmm. Jimmy G is just not what he used to be. Elijah Mitchell, I think he's been pretty impressive.
Very impressive.
For the Niners, I think he's going to get the yards he needs. Brandon Ayuk, ASU guy, he's just so over the board. Deebo Samuel, he's going to get his yards, but watch out for the Rams because they're coming out with a vengeance and they want to win this division. And after just getting embarrassed on national TV, watch out. And then I think Matt Stafford, depends on what he does tonight, he could skyrocket up the MVP odds.
Absolutely. Last thing I want to ask you, what's your prediction for OBJ tonight? What's his stat line look like?
Ooh, that's a great question. OBJ, I'm giving OBJ 4 catches for, I think he'll have like 60 plus yards.
All right.
I think he will. 60. He's not gonna score.
Okay, no touchdown.
No, I really don't. I mean, obviously, like, could be totally wrong, but I think like Cooper Kupp, he's gonna do his thing. Darrell Henderson, Higbee might even get in the touchdown conversation as well. But OBJ,
Van Jefferson's probably gonna get more targets than OBJ tonight.
Oh yeah,
I fully expect so.
Yeah, so it's gonna be a fun game though. Like you got a divisional matchup between the Niners and the Rams. It's gonna be good. Take the spread, and then with your winnings, please just put it in the offering plate. I know producer Angelo always wants me to say that, and I think that's the best thing. It's the best way to give back. But this has been the Breakaway Podcast. Hope you guys have a fantastic Monday. Thanks so much for tuning in live. We're going to have some great sports content for you guys every single week. This is the place to go to, especially when you want to hear the truth about what's going on in sports, what's happening, not only from the stats perspective, but how politically infused this time is. We're going to give you the truth. We're going to be opinionated. It's going to be a lot of fun. Go Rams, go Falcons, go Cardinals, and of course, go Warriors. Thanks for tuning in, guys.
Catch you next time.